If you run a law firm, there's a review shift happening right now that a lot of firms are going to miss until it actually hurts them. Last month, Google made two moves back to back. On April 16th, it released its trust and safety report. And Google said that it blocked 292 million policy violating reviews in 2025. They removed 13 million fake business profiles, and they flagged roughly 22% of all Google Map reviews activity as violating their policies. Then on April 17th, Google quietly updated its review policy and got much more specific about what law firms should not be doing. That includes asking for reviews while a client is still in your office, using a review kiosk or a tablet at the front desk, setting staff review quotas, asking clients to mention a specific practice area or a service by name, and also don't do review gating anymore. If your law firm depends on Google visibility, this is not a random policy housekeeping issue. This is Google signaling where local search is going. And I think that signal is pretty clear. Google is evolving from a search engine into a decision engine. If it wants to recommend the best law firms, it needs cleaner review data than a lot of firms have been feeding it. So for years, many firms have treated reviews like a system to optimize, and we've been guilty of telling our clients to do it. Use a script. Make sure you ask for the review before the client ever leaves your office. Hand them an iPad or a tablet to do the review right there. Oh yeah, be sure to tell them what to mention. And your intake team or front desk, push that team for volume. And oh yeah, only send requests to the clients most likely to leave a positive review than the ones that won't. And that whole mindset was built around one assumption that more reviews and more structured review signals would help you win the visibility game. And for a long time, like I said, a lot of what we were saying worked. And what Google is signaling now is that it cares much more about the quality and authenticity of the input, not just whether a review is blatantly fake. So whether the environment around it feels manipulated, whether the wording feels coached, whether the timing, the cadence, and the context suggested that the firm is manufacturing a review pattern instead of earning actual organic feedback from real clients. That matters more now because reviews are no longer just stars on a profile. It's really language data to Google. It's trust data that they are really looking for here because it's decision data that's going to help Google in the long run. Because Google is increasingly using AI to interpret review content, identify themes, understand sentiment, and decide which firms appear most trustworthy for actual specific searches. So when someone searches for a divorce lawyer, personal injury attorney, estate planning lawyer, or criminal defense attorney, Google's not just indexing websites anymore. It's actually trying to help people make a decision. And to do that, it has to trust the signals underneath the recommendation it's actually giving. This is why this change matters so much for law firms. Because if Google is training recommendation systems on review content, then templated reviews become contaminated data. If you've got 10 clients that all leave a very similar review using the same language at similar times after being prompted in the same environment, that's not a clean signal. That is what Google's going to say is manufactured language. And if Google's AI is trying to answer questions like which law firm communicates well, which attorneys are responsive, or which firms deliver a strong client experience, those manufactured patterns become a problem for Google's product. So I do not think that this is just about spam in the old school sense. I think this is really about protecting the signals that Google's getting. And their trust and safety report backs that up. Again, they took away 292 million policy violating reviews just last year. They removed 13 million fake business profiles. And they said about a quarter of all Google Map reviews activity, they flagged for violating their own policies. Those are massive amount of numbers, and I know some law firms that were guilty of it. That tells you that review integrity is not a side issue that Google is taking lightly. It's a major issue for them. Layer on top of that, the April 17th policy update, and this is how it starts to get practical. Google explicitly moved against several common review tactics, and they called them out by name. No asking for reviews while the client is still in your office. No review kiosk or handing someone an iPad at the front desk anymore. Get rid of your staff review quotas if you have them. Stop telling clients to mention a specific practice area, a service you have, or even technology by name. And no review gating, which means when you route a happy client to Google reviews and you tell all the unhappy clients that you're going to take care of it offline. That list matters because it tells you what Google sees as distorting authenticity. So again, it's not just fake reviews anymore that Google's concerned with. It literally is artificial review conditions. Now, Google has not publicly laid out every enforcement mechanism in detail, so I want to be a little bit careful here in what I'm telling you, but I'm not claiming, again, to know every technical trigger behind the scenes. But I do think that there is a really strong case that pattern detection is part of this. Repeated language patterns they're looking for. Unnatural review timing they're looking for. Review activity tied to the same location they're looking for, and they've told us this. Clusters of reviews that appear to come from a similar environment. They've told us this. Operational footprints that suggest a firm is shaping the review instead of just simply inviting honest feedback from a client. That is where a lot of law firms may be exposed to the new rules. Because the issue may not be a dramatic public penalty on day one. I don't think there will be. I think the biggest concern is that reviews will quietly lose trust. They may not get filtered out right away, but I think they will. They may never then really count the way you think that they count today. And I bet in some cases, they may get removed altogether. And I bet in more serious situations, law firms will lose their ability to receive reviews temporarily, maybe even get a warning label on their profile, or face really broader profile actions, which could be really detrimental. Again, I'm not presenting that as an official endorsement chart from Google, just my thoughts. But I am saying that those are plausible outcomes when a platform is aggressively protecting signals it depends on for AI-driven recommendations. If I owned a law firm that relied on local visibility, I would adapt to these new policy rules right now because this is much bigger than reviews. It's bigger than anything we've seen. This is about how local search itself is changing. We still tend to think of Google as a place where someone types in a query and they get a list of links, those 10 blue links, right? That's the old model. The new model is that Google increasingly wants to reduce friction in the decision-making process. Right? It wants to summarize and it wants to recommend. Different than what we've seen in the past. It wants to surface likely the best option for that user. And it wants to tell that user which law firm people trust for a specific need that that person's looking for. This is what I mean when I say Google is becoming a decision engine. Do you see the difference? Because if your firm depends on Google visibility, that shift that's happening right now should matter to you most. because the firms that win in that environment are not going to be the ones that got best at scripting reviews for their clients. They're going to be the ones that create genuinely review-worthy client experiences and make it easy for real clients to talk about those experiences in their own words. So the practical takeaway is actually, I think, really quite simple for attorneys. 1, stop trying to engineer the wording of reviews. 2, do not ask clients to mention a specific practice area. 3, don't feed your clients a template and ask them to write the review from it. 4, do not try to insert SEO language into client feedback. That just doesn't work anymore. And if a client naturally says those things, fine. If not, just leave it alone. And then just stop asking for reviews while the client is physically in your office. And be sure to get rid of quotas. So if you've got quotas in place for your team, get rid of them and don't gate reviews. Let everyone leave an honest review. Focus on the timing and ease, not scripting. And I guess basically summing it up is like, do great work. Follow up after the matter or service experience. Ask in a genuine, open-ended way if they'd leave a review. And make the review process easy for them because you did a great job. That's the shift that's happening right now. So, yes, you still need a review strategy. Very much important. What has changed is the objective of that strategy. The old objective was to engineer better reviews. And nowadays, the new objective is to create the conditions that naturally produced honest ones. That's the switch that's happening right now. And I think that's a better strategy, and it's more durable. In the long run, it's what's going to work. Because if your reputation strategy only works when it's tightly controlled, it's really fragile, and we've seen this time and time again. But if it's built on a genuinely good client experience and smart follow-up, it's much, much more likely to hold up as Google keeps moving in this new direction. That's what I would do. I would do it right now, starting today, and make sure you stay ahead of Google's policy and don't get caught for violating them.